If you study the book of Hebrews, if you study the book of Hebrews, right from chapter 2 all the way down to chapter 4, you see Paul dwell on rest. Why the children of Israel, after they were brought out of the land of Egypt, why most of them perished in the wilderness. He said, we see that they could not enter into the rest because of unbelief. And what is unbelief? A lot of people don't understand what unbelief means. Unbelief is when you refuse to take God conclusively by his word. You see, when God says, this is who you are, and you start seeing things that are contrary to that, do you believe what you are seeing that is contrary, or do you believe what God has told you? It is also referred to as the doer of the word. That means what God tells you, you live your life according to it, even when it is not convenient, whether good, whether bad. If you don't do that, you're living in unbelief, and it causes destruction. You see, David, God has given him rest. He recognized it, and he said, I have rest. God has blessed me. What can I do for God now? You see, when a Christian is constantly focused on what he needs, is not rested in God, you will never think on how to minister to God. You know, many Christians don't even understand what it means to minister to God. All they think about is God ministering to them. God ministering to them. How many times have we kneeled down? You kneel down and say, Father, what? I just wish I can do something for you today. Wake up in the morning, Lord, help me to do something that is your will. I just want to do something for you today. Praise God.
And some of those things could be maybe you pray.
It can be the simple. You see, with God, when it comes to spiritual things, it's not the way man look at it. When David was saying, I want to build a house for God, he did not realize how deep it meant to God. He did not realize. He did not know. He was saying it because he loved God. But he did not know it's the same thing with us. You don't have to do one big thing. A lot of times, some of the things that we think is really big that people saw and that people begin to talk about. We think those are the big, so you will be surprised. It's just like what Jesus said. When Jesus said, the widow's mite, everybody that were bringing stuff, everybody saw it. The one that nobody saw, she came, the little she can give. And that was all she had. And she gave it to God. Some of us, we've not really given our life because we're not really giving our life for God to use because we think nobody is really seeing it. So we are expecting it to be what everybody will marvel at. And maybe what God is just asking me, can you just give me your life and your time just to pray for the saints? Nobody even need to know that you are doing it. Nobody even need to know that you are doing it. And the stuff like that we take seriously. It's stuff like that we take seriously. And those are stuff that touches the heart of the Father. David said, he's discussing with Nathan, I would like to build a nice house for God. Nathan said, all that is in your heart, do. Because what? God is with you. Why? Because his heart, what? It was this same David that said in Psalm 27, he said, one thing have I desired, and that will I seek after. Do we understand what that means? It is so big. What that means is goal in life. Every other thing he does is for one purpose and one purpose only. That is to know God more. You know what Jesus called it? Jesus said, if your eyes be single, then your whole body is full of light. Hallelujah. I see people struggle about some things at times, like marriage, like having children, like doing this, because we are focused on them instead of focusing on Christ. Let only one focus in life. A Christian, we are called to focus on one thing and one thing only. That is Jesus. It is from that focus we look at every other thing. Jesus said, if your eyes be single, then your whole body is full of light. He said, but if your eyes be evil, that's a big thing. We love us, we don't take it that. If you know what evil eyes mean. When your eyes is away from God, what has God done for you? What does the word of God says about you? That is another way of explaining. That is what James was talking about. In James chapter 1, when he was talking about be ye doers of the word and not hearers only. An unbelieving person cannot do the word. Why? Because when the word of God tells them something, when they read the Bible, or when God speaks to their heart, or when God uses somebody to speak to them and everything, when they see something contrary, they take that more seriously than that word of God. And because they take that more seriously, they let that influence them. So they drop the word of God and begin to react to that. James said, it's somebody like this. He said it's like somebody that looked into the mirror. And after he left the mirror, he forgot what he looked like. So you wearing a yellow tie. After you left, you saw it in the mirror, yellow tie. And somebody saw you say, oh God, I like your red tie. And you say, oh, I didn't know it was red tie. So it's red tie I'm wearing. Thank you. You just left what the word of God told you. But somebody that is in rest, you rest on that. That's what it means to rest. And that's what David said. When David said, you lead me beside the still water, you restoreth my soul. He said, but yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He is seeing them. He is seeing the valley. He said, but I will fear. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Because you already know that he is his shepherd. So at times, these are stuff we struggle with. Why? Because we live in a physical world with our physical eye and our senses that constantly bombard us with information.